Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Center and I'm delighted to join with Cameron and Danny with their movie Sandpaper. Let's take a look at the clip. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to the New Filmmakers LA family. Now that you're alum, it's so delightful and I can't wait to see many more of your films. But for those that haven't seen Sandpaper, tell us a brief synopsis.
Well, first of all, thank you so much, Danny, for having us. Sandpaper is a story based on a time in my life, being a professional ballet dancer. It's a story about overcoming obstacles set in the ballet world.
I mean, goodness me, I mean, it was a really fantastic film to watch in so many ways, and thank you for also sharing something so personal to you. Karen, where did the inspiration come for you in deciding to turn these experiences that you had and make it into a film?
Well, when I wrote the script, I finished the script and I was workshopping it with a lot of friends, and I saw the impact and I saw how so many people related to the story, and I knew I had to make it. And my only issue was finding all the people to bring together to make a film, because I had never done that to start that process myself. And luckily I have Danny, also another Danny.
Yeah.
Was gracious enough and really wanted to dive into that world, and yeah, we had a lot of fun doing it.
Well, I'm always fascinated by when you wrote something so personal to you and then you're like, okay, I'm gonna have someone else direct my personal story. So Danny, fantastically directed. How did it come about that you were part of the project, and what was it like to direct this particular project as well?
Thanks, man. Yeah, so our other producer, another Danny, there's three Dannys in this space now. So Danny Savka, girl Danny, she's a ballet dancer, and so Cam and her had met in a ballet class, and then we all ended up at the same 4th of July barbecue, and we were just hanging out, eating a picnic, watching fireworks, and they started telling me about the project, and that they were like, would you be down to work on it? And then 3 months later we were on set, so it just kind of happened real quick. So it was really cool, and like getting to direct something that's like so personal. I just feel like as a director, you just have to really, really honor the authenticity. Yeah. And so be it either to the person, like for Cam's story, but also to the world, which is the ballet world. And so that was something that was super, super important to us all the way through, to just really make sure everything felt right for people that come from within the ballet world. And if any one ballet dancer saw something and kind of called BS on it, then we failed. So that was a really important thing for us.
I think what I'm also really grateful that you made this film for is ballet is very misunderstood. There is a lot in this industry that we don't know about and what one goes through in this industry. And obviously you've lived it. You're obviously a fantastic dancer, but there's extra levels of difficulty when you are faced with an injury like this, and what that does to you, what that does for your career moving forward. There's a lot of context to that. In writing this story, I mean, obviously it is your story, but how did you want to kind of write it in a context that people could see things that they may not have understood or known about ballet?
Well, you bring up a great point. Especially in the film and TV world, there's not a lot of films out there that accurately depict the day in the life of a ballet dancer. Let alone a male ballet dancer. And so making this, first of all, it was a true story. And I think that from that perspective alone, it had a lot of impact when I was showing it to people. And, you write what you know. Yeah. And these experiences were my own, and because it's not normally seen, or at least not put in the same light as others, media, it had legs to kind of open people's eyes.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they really, like I said before, they really relate to the story, even if they've never danced in their lives.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I feel like that's part of the misunderstanding, I think, of ballet, or like the misportrayal is maybe the way to put it. One of the things I've loved about dance so much is it's one of the only things that I feel like is a really tight hybrid between like sports, like athleticism, and artistry. And a lot of times you have artists or you have athletes, and like there's not too many places that like intersect so interwovenly close like this. And so I feel like the part that's not usually shown is like the athlete side.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of times it's portrayed as something that's more like beautiful and delicate, and this, you know, because of the nature of the story and everything that happened to Cam, we really wanted to highlight the gritty side, and like the side that you don't see, that is just like the strain that's put on the human body, and like the amount of conditioning and effort that gets put in. So that's super important.
And then on top of that, all the things that go into life, you know, there's politics, there's money, paying your bills, on top of the physical demands and the mental demands of this sport that dancers go through.
Absolutely. And I mean, you go to the same specialists and the same doctors as people in sports, you know, sport athletes. So, you know, I love that you kind of narrowed that together, because I consider you guys as athletes because of what you have to do to your body. It's people we wouldn't even get doing in sports. So it's amazing that you kind of covered that. Now, Cameron, you not only wrote it, obviously produced it both for you, but also you starred in it as well. And live that experience. Like, did you always know you wanted to do that? And how was that undertaking, taking on this particular role, particularly as being a personal story to you?
Well, I knew when we were going to make it that we were going to have a very hard time finding somebody who can dance at a high enough level and act at a high enough level. And so it kind of was very easy casting to just be like, I should do it. But on that front, no. I mean, that's kind of where it was. Just yeah.
So I'm curious, because obviously you wrote it, you starred in it. There was also choreography in there as well. Was there a choreographer on set? Did you do your own choreography?
We did our own choreography. So me and Danny, we got together and was like, all right, what are the combinations that we're going to do during the and then for the scene where it was just me dancing, I was the one who said, okay, for the space and what we're shooting with, I'll do these steps. And Danny, for you personally, like, you know, how are you as a director? Obviously you're telling Cameron's story here, but how do you work with your actors? Like, what's your kind of process with that?
I think for this, it's twofold. I think the first way is kind of the way I work with all actors, which I feel like a director, a good director, the responsibility is where the director is a net and the actor is a trapeze artist. And so I feel like if you're sitting there telling an actor how to do it, you're doing it wrong. It's more like let the actor feel it and go through it. And if at any one point they fall, like, you're there to catch them, you know? And so I feel like that's a really important thing, to just be that support system for an actor. I feel like there's a misconstruation of people feeling like directors tell people what to do, and I feel like that's kind of the wrong way to go about it. The second factor for this piece especially was also the dance side of it. And I really wanted to make sure that they never felt constrained as a dancer, and never were trying to like hit marks or like land in this area. Like, it was a lot more of my cinematographer, Benji Dell, and I like really kind of orchestrating these containers for them to fit within, so we could literally follow them, and it was a very more like doc style approach. So the dance led the camera didn't lead the dance, and that was super important.
That's a good note to have. And also being the actor and the producer on set, it was really important, you know, in our pre-production to have everything in kind of set up so that when come time for everyone to be on set, I could just be the actor and I can trust everybody, you know. So having my full trust in you, you know, with Benji, with our sound, with everybody, it was really important.
Well, I'm speaking of which, like, you're captivating as an actor, and I really felt your emotion just drive through every single, you know, scene that you put us in, and just also how hard it is as well when you've got a dream. You know, we all hopefully have got goals and dreams we want to aspire and be, and when you put your whole life into it, your mind, in this case your body, your soul, into everything, and that denial when you still want to keep going, that's takes a lot of resilience, Cameron. Like, how did you get through that?
In terms of my life?
In terms of like, well,
when it
firstly,
happened?
having the kind of repercussions of going back through it in the film,
Yeah.
and it must have felt like you're going back a bit down memory lane, and then just your resilience as an artist in general.
Well, I think that speaks to me doing a lot of personal work.
Yeah.
I did a lot of personal work for that whole time in my life. And so when I was in the process of making the film, I had already done a lot of that work personally. But bringing it out again was another muscle. But it was all within me. So even to this day, my body doesn't forget the injuries that it's had. The body remembers, has a lot of memory, and we walk around in our daily lives with those memories. And so bringing those out again was challenging, but at the same time, I really made sure I took care of myself during the entire process.
Fantastic. And for you, Danny, obviously done many different projects with many different actors. What have you learned mostly from this project?
I learned a lot about ballet, and I feel like in this one, because I had shot other dance pieces before, I just shot like an Irish step dancing piece and stuff like that, and every time you learn a little bit more about each form. And so it was really cool to be able to kind of like meld minds with Cam a lot and just really kind of figure out like what does the story need, or what does the emotional beat need, and then how do we like fit that into ballet? Because again, I never wanted to like force something with the ballet side, because we wanted it to be very, very real. So we would make sure like there's a scene where he has to do something really cool, and it's like, all right, it's a really cool thing. What is that? And then like, is it something that's achievable for you over and over and over again, because we're gonna do some takes? And so it was cool to be able to kind of like mind meld on that sort of stuff. And so I know like what a soda boss is, or double tours, or like these sort of things.
A lot of double tours.
Yeah, a lot of double tours. So it's cool to be able to like, and that's one of the things I love about film in general. It's just every movie you do, you kind of like learn a new world, and that's super special. Yeah.
And speaking of the ballet world, I think we haven't seen a film from your perspective, your experience as well, and I think that's vitally important. And I know going into this is your story that has become universal, and now everyone's getting to experience your film. But looking back on it, what would you want your audience to sort of take or learn or experience from your film?
Well, I don't want to be the person to kind of dictate what someone sees.
Yeah.
To start with, I think everybody sees things in a different way, and there's a certain magic and beauty about it. I can speak to what I've heard from people, and a lot of people resonated not just with Colin, the character that I play, but also resonated with the parents and also the story in general. I'm just happy people enjoyed it and can find something within themselves within Sandpaper.
Absolutely. Okay, I'm very excited. What is next? What are we doing next? Are you working together? What's happening?
The piece is a 30-minute piece, and it's a standalone short, but it also kind of serves as a vehicle for a pilot too. So we really want to explore that and see if we can expand this world into a series, and that's something that is super cool, and we've been kind of kicking around for like really since we shot it.
Yeah,
I'm glad you said that, because, and I said this before, Cameron, making a 32-minute film, of course, it's kind of a difficult little bulk to sometimes put in film festivals. I was left wanting more. Like, I wanted more. So I'm so glad more is coming. So, Cameron, tell us more.
Well, one, I'm so glad that you're wanting more. With my career, and as we talked about earlier, there's a lot within the professional ballet world and professional dance world in general that people don't know about. And me bringing my experiences, my stories, other people's stories, other things that I've witnessed into a series, into a larger project, I really feel like people will love it. And I'm really excited to kind of walk down that path.
Yeah, totally. And all the actors in this movie that play a ballet dancer or a former ballet dancer are all actual real life ballet dancers or former ballet dancers. And it's just sitting and listening to like Isabella, who played Nicole in the movie, listening to kind of her life and how she kind of did touring companies and kind of came up through ballet, and she ended up doing Spielberg's West Side Story, and like the stories from that set as a professional dancer, like so many cool, interesting stories. And even Oscar, who's the head of the the school in the movie.
Yeah.
He danced for Dance Theater Harlem is the name of
Theater
it.
of Harlem.
Oh, wow.
From 80 to 85-ish.
Yeah, in the 80s.
But just an incredible, like, cool past that he had with that company, and just kind of like listening to the stuff that he had and his idols from that era. And like we even informed that like everything he wears in there is like informed by one of his idols from the dance world of that period. And so it was a very, very cool thing. And then every time you hear new professional ballet stories, like as a peek behind the curtain, it's so interesting. So I think that world would be really cool to explore as a series.
I loved his character as well. It broke my heart when he knew which leg it was. I was like, oh. Just, you know, as artists, as filmmakers, it's very hard to put your dreams out there. It feels very unrunnable at times. For anyone who wants to follow in the footsteps, what kind of piece of advice do you have that you'd like to share with our budding filmmaking audience?
Do it scared.
Ooh, I got chills. It's scary.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Do it scared. Do it bad. You know, make a bad film, even if it, you know. But if you're speaking to what you know, you're already in the right place. You know, don't try to pander to what people are trying to look for, because a lot of times they don't even know what they're looking for. And so if you build it, they will come.
Yeah.
And even if you do it scared, even if you do it being vulnerable, that is the most powerful place to be. You know, people don't think it's the opposite. But if you're vulnerable and you're out there, it's the most impactful.
Brilliant. True.
I think one thing I always tell like young filmmakers is there's really two paths to what you want to do. And so let's say you want to be a director. There's the path where you go in and you work in a mailroom, you work your way up like at an agency, then jump to a production company, work your way through a production company, maybe like getting up into like associate producing, and then jump over and eventually start to work on the creative, and then you can be a director. Then you navigate your way through the infrastructure that's already in place, and you do a million jobs to get to that job you want. The other path is just start doing the job that you want, and it's going to start really little, and you're going to be making shorts for a couple $100s, and then eventually some shorts for $50,000, and then you're going to start doing some features for $100,000. And if you choose that path, it's a lot less stable and a little more scary, but you're doing what you love every step of the way. So I feel like those, and there's no wrong choice, you know? So that's something I always tell young filmmakers, like, just, it's going to be one of those paths, and like, just know the pros and cons of each, and then just frickin' go full steam and hit it.
Boy, I hope you're all scared with positive adrenaline now from Danny and Cameron. Listen, thank you so much for bringing Sandpaper. I can't wait for the feature version, and thank you for your humbleness, and looking forward to seeing your next film. But welcome to the family. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Danny.
Thanks,
Thank you, Cameron and Dan, everybody.